Chronic cough wasn't treated like a small annoyance centuries ago. It could ruin sleep, thin the body, and keep people from work for months. In medieval towns, the noise of coughing carried fear because it was linked in people's minds to long-lasting illness, lung weakness, and sickness that wouldn't let go. And yet, physicians and herbalists didn't only offer bitter drinks. They used a strange mix of plants, smoke, and ritual, things you could almost imagine happening beside the market stall. A healer might heat dried herbs in a clay bowl, letting fragrant smoke wrap the patient's face, while a family member recited a prayer meant to seal the breath. Elsewhere, a cup of strong honeyed syrup could be prepared with thyme, sage, and licorice root, then served warm, so it soothed the throat and calmed the sore path of air. But the most unsettling part? Some communities didn't wait for coughing to fade on its own. They treated it like a stubborn enemy that could be chased out with ceremony, timed to church days, guided by omens, and made personal by what the patient feared most. Modern medicine looks for infection, asthma, reflux, or other causes, and it's often able to stop chronic cough for good. Still, as the years pass, one question keeps pulling viewers in. What exactly did they do when herbs and prayers didn't work, and why did people believe it could change the lungs themselves? Why chronic cough was feared in the past? Chronic cough was treated as a dangerous, life-shaping illness rather than a nagging inconvenience. When it dragged on through cold seasons and late nights, people feared it could signal wasting weakness, constant lung trouble, or a sickness that would not be shaken off. The sound of it alone carried weight in medieval homes. Children quieted, visitors frowned, and families watched faces for signs of breathlessness and pale skin. In crowded houses where smoke from hearth fires clung to walls and rafters, a long cough could feel like it was fed by the very air. Threshing grain, grinding flour, and storing straw dust created a haze that settled in lungs, and the same smoky cooking smoke followed everyone to bed. Water wasn't always clean, and household dampness found its way under floors, so sickness seemed less like one event and more like a slow trap. There was also the fear of contagion and bad luck mixed together. Breath carried sickness in people's minds, so an ongoing cough near doorways, in chapels, or at market stalls became frightening in a very personal way. Families worried it might spread through shared space, shared utensils, or even through the air after someone had left the room. When a cough refused to stop, it looked like a stubborn curse as much as a bodily problem, and gossip grew quickly around anyone who sounded wrong. Doctors and healers tried to sort the fear by observing patterns, whether the cough came in bouts, whether it worsened after meals, and whether it stole strength day by day. If someone coughed up sticky or colored material, it was treated as a warning sign rather than a mere symptom. A cough that worsened with exertion or stayed constant through nights was seen as an omen of trouble deep inside, where remedies seemed uncertain and delay felt risky. This is why people didn't wait politely. They pursued help through herbs, steaming, and prayers with the same urgency they reserved for injuries and fevers. Everyday life made the dread sharper. Working hands had to earn bread, yet coughing made even simple tasks, carrying water, tending animals, climbing stairs, feel punishing. In villages, a persistent cough threatened not only one person but the rhythm of the household, because rest was costly and work had to continue. Markets demanded contact, travel spread illness, and the church calendar gathered crowds, so the fear of being recognized as the coughing one could be as hard as the illness itself. Modern medicine often tries to explain chronic cough through causes like infections, irritation, asthma-like problems, reflux, or other long-term conditions, and that clarity can reduce the sense of doom. In the past, limited ability to look inside the chest meant people relied on what they could see, smell, and hear, and that naturally turned uncertainty into fear. A long cough was not treated as a minor inconvenience because it threatened survival, family stability, and social safety all at once. That combination, continued suffering, visible weakness, and unclear origins, made chronic cough feel like a door that might never open again unless the right remedy, herbal and ritual alike, was found. Strange remedies doctors used to stop coughing. Chronic cough was treated as a serious, dragging illness in medieval life, not a small nuisance you could ignore. It could disrupt sleep, ruin appetite, and leave a person weaker over time, making it feel dangerous in a way that people could see day after day. Coughing in public also carried fear, since neighbors often linked persistent illness to bad air, lingering sickness, or stubborn heat that would not leave the body. In the halls of modest homes and the dim rooms of healers, herbal remedies were prepared with a practical, everyday look. Dried mullein leaves, gathered from common countryside plants, were soaked or simmered to make a warm drink meant to soothe the throat when the chest felt raw. Licorice root, sweet, chewy, and familiar in folk remedies, was also used to calm irritation, since its taste and stickiness made it feel like it could coat and settle the mouth and throat. These were not sterile treatments, but they were consistent: kitchen pots, herb bundles, honey from local hives, and cloth strained through before serving. Alongside the herbs, doctors used ritual as if it matched the body's stubbornness. Some healers believed that certain illnesses could be pushed away by words, prayers, or protective signs, because the cough was thought to cling like a curse or a bad influence. A person might be instructed to wear a small charm or carry a remedy bundle tied in cloth, then repeat a prayer quietly before meals. Others relied on saint-related practices tied to local devotion, treating spiritual help as another layer of medicine rather than a separate thing. That mix of the practical and the mysterious showed up in how treatments were timed and managed. A cough patient might be told to avoid cold drafts, damp cellars, and smoke-heavy spaces, because breath that felt stuck was blamed on the air as much as the body. Warm inhalations were common too, steam rising from a pot, sometimes flavored with fragrant herbs, to ease that tight, rattling feeling. When the cough worsened at night, families adjusted sleeping arrangements toward warmth and away from smoky fireplaces, using the house itself as part of the remedy. Even medieval doctors tried to make sense of patterns, though their explanations were different from modern understanding. They described imbalance, too much heat, too much dampness, or a harmful humoring effect, rather than the germs or inflammation that modern medicine focuses on. Today, we know chronic cough can come from many causes, including infections, asthma-like reactions, reflux, medications, or long-term lung conditions. Back then, the beliefs were shaped by what people could observe: the sound of coughing, the color of sputum, the feel of the chest, and how quickly symptoms changed with food, smoke, and weather. The suspense came from uncertainty, because chronic cough refused quick relief and returned like a tide. Healers might shift from one herb to another if the throat still burned, or combine honeyed syrups with stronger-tasting mixtures to break stubborn illness. Sometimes a ritual was added after weeks of no improvement, because persistent coughing demanded persistence in both herbs and faith. Modern treatment would still begin with careful listening, but it aims to identify the exact cause, then target it, often with tools that medieval medicine simply didn't have. Despite the gaps in their science, their approach had a startling realism at the level of daily life. Warm drinks, honey for soothing, protective measures against cold and smoke, and gentle steam were all things a medieval household could carry out. They treated chronic cough as something that could steal strength, and they responded with layered care, herbs, household warmth, and spiritual practices, because the illness felt relentless and personal. Modern medicine can be more precise, yet the old goal remains recognizable: calm the irritation, help the body recover, and keep a person breathing well enough to live. Which treatments actually helped patients? Chronic cough was treated as a serious, weakening condition in medieval life, not a casual irritation. People feared it because it robbed workers of breath, sleep, and strength, and it could linger through seasons when food was scarce and warmth was uncertain. Physicians first tried to calm the chest using simple, everyday remedies. Warm infusions of herbs were common, especially those used for cooling and soothing the throat, like sage and thyme, steeped in hot water and served like a bitter tea after meals. Honey and crushed ginger were also practical favorites, since honey was widely kept, and ginger could be bought through trade routes. Patients would be given warm, sweet drinks or small spoonfuls to coat the mouth and ease the urge to cough. These were not cures in a single stroke, but they could help when cough worsened with dry air, irritation, or a lingering cold. Some treatments actually matched modern comfort care more than modern medicine would admit. Steam and warmth were used in ways people could follow at home. Hot water near the bed, a bowl covered with cloth for gentle inhalation, and extra blankets to trap warmth. If the cough was driven by airway irritation, the simple act of moistening the air could reduce coughing fits, at least temporarily. Doctors also recommended steady drinking and avoiding smoke, which mattered in households where hearth smoke stained rafters and lungs alike. Yet the truly distinctive medieval angle was how treatment braided body and meaning together. A persistent cough was often seen as a sign that the humors had turned or that something unseen was troubling the chest. So doctors paired herbal soothing with rituals meant to restore balance. Small protective charms, prayers spoken over the patient's food, and blessings timed with daily routines could accompany the herbal cup. Some physicians used stamped or inscribed amulets, insisting they drew harmful influences away from the lungs, while others focused on calming the spirit because fear itself could tighten breathing and make coughing worse. Rituals also helped explain a surprising, practical detail. Many people were more likely to rest when the treatment demanded it. A cure that required staying by the hearth, limiting labor, and keeping the body warm naturally reduced exertion-triggered coughing. In that way, the belief system sometimes created the same conditions modern clinicians recommend: less strain, more comfort, and careful attention to breathing, even when the explanation was different. Modern medicine would separate cause from comfort, and it would test the lungs when cough stays long. Medieval doctors rarely identified infections the way we do, and they didn't distinguish chronic irritation from more serious disease. Still, the remedies that eased symptoms, warm herbal drinks, honey-based soothers, gentle steam, and smoke avoidance, could plausibly help patients live through hard days without constant coughing. The suspense lay in what people couldn't see. A cough could come from many sources, so some patients felt relief, while others watched the treatment fail and feared the worst. Centuries ago, a cough was not just an annoyance. It could hang on for months or years, stealing sleep, appetite, and strength. People feared it as a slow threat to the whole body. In dim village halls and smoky stone chambers, doctors tracked every breath like a warning bell, searching for a remedy before the cough took more than time. They turned to plants people could actually find and grow. A wrapped bundle of dried herbs, hyssop, thyme, and sage, might be burned on small coals in a closed room to fill the air with sharp, healing smells. Some cures used honey and warmed wine, stirred with crushed herbs and steeped until it looked like a dark syrup you could spoon by the fire. Others prepared soothing mixtures with marshmallow root, where the pale, gel-like soak was meant to coat the throat and calm that relentless irritation. And then came the rituals, clear as everyday life, not like fancy theater. A doctor could chant over a patient while holding a small cloth charm, then tie it near the throat as family members watched in tense silence. In some places, people believed certain illnesses followed patterns, so they paired a balm with a strict routine: stay near a hearth for warmth, drink only gentle liquids, and avoid cold drafts that stir the cough loose. Even the timing mattered. Some remedies were given at specific hours of the day, when the house felt still and attention was sharp. There's a suspenseful reason these old treatments kept spreading. The herbs were real, and many could be calming or mildly soothing. But the rituals were built on beliefs that sound strange today, like the idea that illness could be driven out through scent, breath, or sacred words. Modern medicine looks at chronic cough differently. We ask what is causing it: lung infections, asthma, long-lasting irritation, and more. Then we test and treat with targeted care. Still, those medieval doctors weren't inventing nonsense from nothing. They were combining what they could observe: warmth, herbs, and careful comfort, with the explanations their world understood. The key takeaway is simple. This strange remedy was a bundle of practical steps: smoke, honeyed drinks, throat-soothing plants, and a ritual meant to steady the patient, used when people had few tools beyond careful observation and local knowledge. So next time you hear how far medicine has come, remember the people in that candlelit room who tried everything they knew. If you want the rest of the story, what happened when the remedy worked, and what terrified families when it didn't, watch the next video, because the clues get even more unexpected.